Hello everyone, I am Matthew.
I'm Chris.
And we are the NOLAnerds here at our fake sound stage where it looks like we are supposed to be reporters.
It worked.
Newsman, anchorman.
It worked last time.
It did. Alright, so today we are doing the top 30 games of the previous generation. The PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and the Wii. Downloadable games count. And as always, we have a couple ground rules that dictated our choices. You want to hit them up with that?
Absolutely. It has to be one game per franchise. So, games like, hypothetically, if Call of Duty were on there, we'd have to pick the best Call of Duty.
Yeah, you can't have Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty...
Don't be like those videos on YouTube where, top 10 games, and it's Kingdom Hearts, 1 through 9, and then, the 10th one is...
Kingdom Hearts 3, which isn't out yet, but it will be.
It will be Game of the Year. Whatever. Don't do that. So one game per franchise.
And that actually caused more trouble for us than...
There were a lot of options. Yeah. Also, it has to be a game where we spent considerable amount of time in. Not necessarily beaten, but a good chunk of time.
Enough time where we can form an opinion.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're just saying... And we tried... And another thing to remember before you flood us with angry emails about games we skipped... these are our games. Just because it's not a very good game or not a very popular game doesn't really have any bearing on us.
Yeah, it's games we like. Also, the games that we both agreed on have a higher preferential rate than the individual games.
Yes, if we both agreed on a game, it's higher on the list. Yeah. That said, the honorable mention, Matt, is South Park Stick of Truth, because Chris did not want it on the list, because Chris hates South Park.
Let's be real. Hate is a strong word. I do not care for South Park, and I have not cared for South Park.
You don't have a sense of humor
since this millennium began.
That's fair.
So,
and by fair, I mean you're wrong. But I accepted that, and that's why it's just an honorable mention. South Park Stick of Truth is one of my favorite RPGs of last generation, which doesn't say much because last generation was really rough for RPGs. But it was still very fun. It was perfect if you're a fan of the show. It's pretty much the perfect South Park game. And it was a lot like the Batman games in the sense that there was other South Park games before it, but there was never a good one.
Like we hit the turning point on the best licensed games.
Right, exactly.
Like Iron Man 2 came out and I was like, well, we're not doing that ever again.
Yeah. Oh, that was rough. But no, so South Park Stick of Truth was and it was hilarious. It was just a very fun game, and that is my honorable mention for South Park Stick of Truth. Take it away, Chris.
My honorable mention is Infinite Undiscovery. It's a little-known Tri-Ace RPG that came out in the time when the Xbox was really trying to make RPGs a thing.
Also, if I may.
You may.
This will be the only time Infinite Undiscovery makes a best of list ever.
Yeah, because it's so cliche. And it's really cliche.
I have to tell you, out of all the games that you enjoyed,
yeah,
this is the one that surprised me the most, just because I never thought you would actually like it.
Same. It's cliche as hell, and, the battle system, I think the battle system's a ton of fun. I think the story is ludicrous with the chain being wrapped around the moon, and you have to save yourself from the Moon King, but you're also the Moon King. Spoilers for this 8-year-old game.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird, but I couldn't help but be really charmed by it.
All right, let's start with number 30 then.
Let's do number 30.
3D Dot Game Heroes.
Yeah.
Remember that game?
No.
I do.
Okay, you tell
me. It was Atlas. Yeah. It was basically Zelda on PlayStation. It was a very niche, weird game. Everything was made out of voxels, and it was a game that was basically the original NES Zelda, top-down, everything.
Yeah.
But you could customize things and build your own creations, and the game itself was a very faithful recreation of Zelda. Just enough to the point where it can't be sued for copyright infringement.
But it was close.
But if you loved the original Zelda, this game was right up your alley, and there was something really fun about upgrading your sword to the point where a single swing would fill the whole screen. And anytime something died or exploded, like an explosion of voxels, which I have to keep myself from saying pixels because it turns out that's not what they are.
I like voxels are fun.
The aesthetic was super charming, the soundtrack was amazing, and the gameplay was everything you'd expect from a Zelda ripoff. Mm-hmm. Loved it. What about number 29, Chris?
Number 29.
Your personal favorite game of this show?
Well, you internet commented me earlier when I said this should be 30, and you said, why? Why do you hate Rock Band 3? The answer is I do not hate Rock Band 3. Rock Band 3 is a very good game and a completely innovative genre that only came out in this generation, which was the music game. So of the Rock Bands, and there were a couple, that came out, Rock Band 3 was the best. And it's not really so much gameplay.
It's just because it added everything that Rock Band 1 and 2 did, it added on to.
It built upon.
And that's the thing that made Rock Band so great is its expansive genre and their library, and then everything builds up and it's like the perfect party game. And with Rock Band 4 days away, it's just the perfect time for it.
I agree.
And it's just out of all the games on our list, this was pretty much the best party game.
Yeah, the party game is something that's really gone away with the advent of online gaming and like the really kind of cementing it, because like no one has split screen co-op anymore. It's all online or nothing.
All right, number 28.
Yeah,
L.A. Noire.
L.A. Noire, a little ambitious for its time, but it's important because it set the groundwork for a lot of other games that came out. Most recently, Until Dawn.
I was going to say until Dawn came out.
Yeah.
L.A. Noire was the pinnacle of the motion cap realism character type of game. There was just something about the 50s era noir detective story.
It kind of worked, and even though
it was less about the gameplay and more about the story, which is very unusual for a Rockstar game.
Well, okay, so the gameplay is very Grand Theft Auto light. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yes.
But that's not the gimmick of the story. The gimmick is the acting, the full motion capture, and the story that they're trying to tell.
And the fact that it could branch out depending on your decisions and how well you found clues and stuff.
It was incredibly ambitious for its time, and it mostly succeeded. I think going back to it now, it's been a bunch of years. Maybe the face effects are a little weird looking.
I remember being really surprised by this storyline and how it ended until someone was like, it's a noir game, right?
Yeah.
Like, right. Well, why don't we move on to number 27?
Yeah.
The angriest game of all time, God of War 3.
So angry.
The game where if you didn't stop pressing the attack button, you would never win. You remember that scene?
That scene was great.
I found a video online of someone who was complaining. He said I thought his game was broken because he's like, I've been pressing the button for 3 minutes and nothing's happening. You are an angry individual.
So, yeah, God of War 3, the culmination of the God of War trilogy.
Probably one of the best intros in a game with the fight against Poseidon.
Well, God of War's always had really great opening sequences. The Poseidon fight was a ton of fun. The God of War kind of gameplay was really kind of honed to perfection in this one. Story-wise,
story-wise, it's angry Kratos.
Yeah,
then it becomes
it's a little thinner than some of the other God of Wars.
Just not saying much.
Which, if you played the others, they're wafer thin.
I'm sorry, what?
Wafer thin.
Really?
Like a wafer.
There you go.
Wafer.
Oh my god.
But no, God of War 3 was good. It was gorgeous. It had a lot of varied locales. I mean, for a God of War game, it was pretty great. What was that?
Okay. Number 26 is the best game Chris never would refuse to play on some weird unknown reason.
There's no unknown reason. I've told you the reason.
You just say you don't like it.
I don't.
Matter. It's Little Big Planet, the most charming, adorable game of this generation. I think besides Rock Band, I don't think I spend more money on DLC than any other game than Little Big Planet. And like Rock Band, the fact that everything transferred from sequel to sequel just made it so much better.
Well, you're sick. You're sick in the head.
Chris, I just bought the pack to dress my Sackboy up like Metal Gear Solid 5 Snake. Come on.
That's so dumb.
No, it's so good.
So
everything from Marvel to DC to Ghostbusters to every TV and movie and video game you can think of came into play, and it just like other games, it's all about what other people make, because I don't want to, but I love playing other people's games, and Little Big Planet was one of the most charming games I'd ever played. What about you, Chris? What's next?
The next game on the list looks like Guacamelee. Our first downloadable game, a really fun Metroidvania set in this Lucha-inspired world.
With so many internet memes and video game references.
Oh my god, yeah. Just the whole town with their billboards of the Super Hermanos brothers. Grumpy Cat. It's a very much a time capsule for the period, but it's a really good beat 'em up / Metroidvania.
Yes, and
also
something about the combo when you get it all to flow and it all works together, you just feel so amazing. Like when you can get through one of those challenge rooms or something like that.
It's very much like Arkham. Like when you hit that moment of just pure perfection, it feels real good.
So you never actually felt that?
Nah,
heavy.
not even close.
So. Moving on, we have Crackdown, one of the earliest games released on this list.
Crackdown 1 was another game when this generation first started, there were no real open world games. And this really kind of broke the ground to open the world up for all these other open world games. Thanks.
No, Crackdown, it was the sense of freedom and the feeling of being a superhero in not a superhero game.
Yes.
Picking up a car and kicking it at people and
jumping
from building to building and just all the things. I mean, I never bother with driving or
why would you after a certain point? It's like
getting infinite rocket launchers and then just jumping around and shooting terrorists in the face.
It was for a time it was the perfect game because it didn't really care if you played it or not. It just wanted you to have fun.
Right.
So
23 is Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, the first of only 2 Wii games on this entire list. It really sold you on the concept of the Wii being a game that could handle shooters. The Wiimote was so perfect for aiming and shooting, and it was just one of the best Metroid games of the Prime. Not even just the Prime franchise, but Metroid in general is one of the best around.
And it was so perfect that no one ever used it again.
Nope.
So perfect.
What are you talking about? We're getting that DS game that everyone's been clamoring for.
So perfect.
Oh, Metroid Prime 3.
So I'm going to talk about Dishonored. Dishonored really went back into the vault to the kind of the Thief era kind of games. And, I mean, this is basically a spiritual successor to Thief. And gave you a fun range of powers, including the ability to teleport behind your enemies and summon rats if you so chose. And, gave you this weird steampunk world that was a lot of fun to investigate in. And I had a ton of fun playing this repeatedly. There was a lot of freedom in the path you chose.
I agree. I mean, this is a game that I had almost no playtime on, but this was one Chris felt very strongly about, and in those circumstances, that's how this comes about. Yep. And I acquiesced a spot on the list for Dishonored. Good team. No, really? I'm just talking about how your game made the list. Can't even get a high.
It was on camera.
You son of a bitch. All right, let's end this one with number 21, Just Cause 2.
Yeah, this is a game that gets better the less you play the story. Because you play the story, you have to take down a dictator, you have to go to waypoints, and that sucks. We know what's a lot of fun is grappling hook an airplane and grappling hook it to the ground, so that when it tries to take off, it immediately crashes.
Or grappling hooking a guy to a fire extinguisher and shooting it up.
Yeah, and watching him just explode in the air. Good time.
Just Cause 2 was the epitome of the dick around sandbox game.
And it's a game that is still getting a lot of playtime on the internet because now that it's on the PC, you can do anything in it. It's great.
But that is number 30 through 21 with honorable mentions. Chris had Infinite Discovery. I had South Park Stick of Truth. And we went 3D Heroes, Rock Band 3, LA Noire, God of War 3, Little Big Planet, The Best, Guacamelee, Crackdown, Metroid Prime 3, Dishonored, Just Cause 2. I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
He's Chris. We're the NOLAnerds, and we'll see you for part 2.
Part 2. See? Part 1.
Yeah.
Part 2.
All right.
And cut. That's a wrap.
All right.
Time for a nap.